I never thought my marriage would end the way it did. For years, I believed that Jessica and I had something unshakable, something that could weather every storm. We met in college, young and full of dreams. She had this light about her, the kind that pulled people in without effort. And somehow, she chose me. For a long time, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. We built a life together, small apartment, late-night takeout dinners, laughter echoing through the rooms. Everything felt solid. At least, that's what I told myself. The first cracks appeared slowly, so quietly I almost missed them. Jessica became distant. Not in a loud or dramatic way, but in the subtle changes only a husband would notice. She stopped holding my hand when we walked down the street. She spent more nights working late, or catching up with friends. The intimacy that had once come so naturally began to fade into routine excuses. I told myself it was stress, that maybe she just needed space. But deep down, a knot started to form in my chest. A fear I refused to acknowledge. Then came the night everything shattered. I had cooked dinner, nothing fancy, just pasta and garlic bread, hoping we could reconnect. She walked in late, her hair tousled, her smile forced. I asked her where she had been. And instead of an answer, she sighed heavily and dropped into the chair across from me. "Mark," she said, "I don't think I can do this anymore." Her words hit me harder than anything I'd ever felt. At first, I thought she meant the marriage in general. But no, she clarified in a way that still makes my stomach turn. She said she had been seeing someone else, that she wanted to be free, that marriage felt like a cage. I stared at her, waiting for the moment she'd say she was joking, or that she was confused. But Jessica didn't flinch. She looked almost relieved. As if confessing her betrayal was like setting down a heavy burden she no longer wanted to carry. My hands trembled. My chest ached. The woman I had shared my life with, the woman I had trusted more than anyone, was sitting in front of me calmly admitting that she had broken every promise we made. I asked her why. Why throw everything away for some fleeting idea of freedom? She didn't even cry. She just said, "Because I need to find myself. I need to live." Her words tore through me, but what cut even deeper was the indifference on her face. Jessica wasn't remorseful. She wasn't begging for forgiveness or showing regret. She was calm, almost cold. I remember staring at her, trying to understand how the woman who once cried in my arms over silly movies, who once held my hand in the middle of crowded streets, could now look at me like I was a stranger. "I don't love you the way I used to," she said quietly. "And I can't stay in something that doesn't make me feel alive." Alive. That word burned in my mind. Hadn't we built a life? A home? Weren't those things proof enough that we were alive? But no, Jessica wanted excitement, adventure. A sense of youth she felt slipping away. I wanted to scream at her, to remind her of the nights she promised me forever. The times she said I was her safe place. But all I could do was sit there in silence as she packed a small bag, and said she'd come back for the rest later. For weeks after she left, I felt like I was drifting. The apartment was quiet, the bed cold. I'd go to work, go through the motions, but every time I came home and opened the door, the emptiness consumed me. People noticed. My friends asked if I was okay, my coworkers gave me sympathetic looks, but I brushed them off. How could I explain that my wife had thrown me away like an old coat, all for the illusion of freedom? And yet, life has a way of moving forward even when you're stuck. Slowly, I forced myself to rebuild. I focused on my career, started hitting the gym again, and spent time with people who genuinely cared about me. It wasn't easy, but day by day, I began to feel stronger. The pain was still there, but it no longer controlled me. Meanwhile, whispers about Jessica started to reach me. Friends of friends mentioned seeing her out with the man she left me for. At first, they looked inseparable, always together, always laughing. It stung, but I told myself it was what she wanted. She had chosen her so-called freedom. But then months later, the tone of those whispers changed. People said Jessica didn't look the same anymore. The sparkle that once surrounded her seemed dim. The man she had given everything up for? He wasn't treating her the way she expected. The excitement had faded, leaving only arguments and disappointment. One evening, I ran into her by accident at a cafe. She looked tired, older somehow. as if the weight of her choices had finally caught up with her. She forced a smile, but her eyes gave her away. "Hey," she said softly, as if we were old friends who had simply lost touch. I nodded, my guard up, unsure what she wanted. We made small talk at first, but soon her voice cracked as she admitted, "I made a mistake." I didn't answer right away. Months of loneliness, of broken promises, of replaying her betrayal in my head, they all rushed back in that moment. She explained that the freedom she had chased wasn't what she imagined. The man she left me for was controlling, selfish, and when the initial thrill wore off, she realized she had traded stability and love for chaos and regret. "I thought I needed excitement," she confessed, tears forming in her eyes. "But what I really needed was what we had." I didn't see it then. I see it now. Hearing those words should have given me satisfaction, maybe even hope. But instead, they left me hollow. I realized I didn't want her apology, not anymore. I had spent too many nights drowning in pain. Too many mornings forcing myself out of bed. Too many days rebuilding what she destroyed. I had clawed my way back to a version of myself that didn't need her validation. I looked at her and finally spoke. "Jessica, you didn't just leave me. You broke us. You broke me. And now, I can't go back. Not after everything." Her tears spilled over then, and for the first time, I saw true regret on her face. But it was too late. She had chosen freedom over love, and the cost of that choice was standing right in front of her. A man who had once been hers, but no longer was. In the months that followed, I heard bits and pieces about her life. The relationship she left me for ended badly. She moved from one short-lived fling to another, chasing the same high that had first pulled her away from me. Meanwhile, my life moved in a different direction. I got promoted at work, reconnected with old friends, and eventually met someone new. Someone who valued loyalty, honesty, and the quiet moments that Jessica had once called boring. It wasn't easy letting myself love again, but this time, I knew the warning signs. I knew my worth. And I promised myself I'd never let anyone make me feel disposable again. Looking back now, I don't see Jessica as the woman who ruined me. I see her as the woman who taught me the most painful, yet valuable, lesson of my life. Sometimes, the people who claim they want freedom don't realize that freedom without love, without respect, without trust, comes at a cost too high to bear. Jessica lost the life we built, the love we shared, and the future we could have had. And me? I gained something priceless. The strength to walk away, the courage to rebuild, and the clarity to see that her betrayal wasn't my ending. It was my beginning.